Why did the room go silent the moment she spoke? Yet no one understood why her voice carried that strange gravity. No one noticed her when she slipped into the briefing room. No name patch, no ribbons, no visible rank. Just standard-issue fatigues and a calm posture that made her seem almost invisible. The officers crowded around the glowing tactical display, their voices sharp, their confidence absolute. She stood near the wall, quietly scrolling through data on a tablet that didn't belong to any department with a name most of them recognized. Commander Thaddeus Merrick paced at the head of the table, the steady authority of a man who'd spent decades being obeyed without question. His voice echoed off steel walls and polished screens. Operation Shadowfall requires precision timing, he said. 3-minute window, in and out, flawless execution. The men nodded, predictable, controlled, assured. No one expected the quiet woman at the back to speak. No one even expected her to be listening. But she lifted her gaze just once and said, calm as morning air, "Your real window is 90 seconds. Their secondary patrol patterns shift earlier." Silence, sharp, sudden, uncomfortable. Lieutenant Mayers blinked up from the map. Sir, she's not wrong. The patrol rotates at." Merrick cut him off with a glare. Then he turned to her, masking irritation with a thin smile. "You're awfully quiet back there." A chuckle spread among his officers. "What's your rank, corporal, specialist, something like that?" Her expression didn't flinch, didn't bend, didn't rise to the bait. "Not relevant to the mission parameters, Commander." A few officers exchanged looks. Mayer swallowed. Merrick's jaw set. He stepped toward her, slow and authoritative, as if closing the distance would reestablish the hierarchy she was somehow unraveling simply by existing in the same room. "I asked a direct question, soldier." She looked up then, really looked up, eyes gray and steady enough to still the room again. "Commander," she said quietly, "you're asking the wrong question." Something in her tone, not volume, not aggression, made several officers straighten without realizing why. Merrick scoffed. "Fine, what department are you even from? Logistics, admin." She returned her attention to the tablet. "I'm here to assess readiness." "Under whose authority?" "JSOC." This time, the silence wasn't just uncomfortable. It was confused. JSOC didn't send unknown, unranked ghosts to Marine bases. JSOC sent colonels, commanders, retired legends. Not anonymous women in stripped-down fatigues. "Let me see your credentials," Merrick demanded. Without hesitation, she handed him a small black ID card. He scanned it. His brow tightened, then loosened, then tightened again. "This clearance level doesn't match any protocol I know," he muttered, masking uncertainty with irritation. "We'll verify this at 1400 hours. You'll report to my office." She retrieved the card and walked out, calm as if none of it mattered. But the room wasn't calm. The whispers erupted instantly. "Who the hell is she? She talking back to Merrick like that? JSOC doesn't send nobodies." Lieutenant Commander Zephyr Donovan lingered at the exit, brow furrowed. He approached her as she crossed the hallway. "Have we met?" he asked, voice low. She studied him for a moment. "Unlikely." "You look familiar." He extended a hand. "Zephyr Donovan." A pause. Then she shook his hand. "Evanthia." "Just Evanthia?" he asked. "For now." He smiled, but it faded when he caught something in her eyes, something he couldn't quite place. "You know," he said carefully, "your comment about the patrol pattern, it matched intel my team collected last month. Intel that wasn't widely distributed." She held his gaze. "Information flows where it's needed," she said. "Not always," Donovan replied. "Sometimes it gets stuck behind rank and protocol." A tiny shift in her expression, Acknowledgement, maybe. Then she walked away. Later on the training field, Lieutenant Mayer struggled with a targeting system that refused to calibrate. He cursed under his breath, sweat beading on his forehead. "You're resetting the wrong stabilizer," she said softly from behind him. He nearly jumped. "Ma'am, I mean sorry, I've tried everything." "Not everything." She knelt, opened a panel no one else seemed to know existed, and tapped a hidden switch. The system lit up instantly, perfect calibration. Mayers blinked. "How did you? That panel isn't in the manual." "It fails during transport," she said simply. "I've seen it before." Before he could respond, Merrick's voice thundered across the field. "MEYRS, return to formation now." The young officer scrambled away. Merrick stalked toward her. "You giving orders to my officers now?" She didn't reply. She didn't need to. "Show me your credentials," he demanded again, loud enough for others to hear. She handed the card over, unbothered. He skimmed it again, visibly unsettled, but unwilling to admit it. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. "Report to my office at 1400. We're sorting this out." As she walked past a group of junior officers, their whispers chased her like shadows. "She can't be JSOC. No rank, no insignia." Then why did the commander look scared when he read her ID? Donovan caught up with her again, lowering his voice. "You ran Talon Strike in 19, he said quietly. She froze, not visibly but internally. He saw it. "That operation is classified," she said. "My brother was on that team," he said. "He said someone saved them when everything went sideways. A woman. No one ever identified her." She stared at him, expression unreadable. "He left a bottle of bourbon at the extraction point," he added. A faint breath of amusement touched her eyes. "It was appreciated," she said. "So it was you." "I didn't confirm that." A ghost of a smile. Then she walked away again, leaving Donovan standing alone with a new, unsettling understanding. Whoever she wasn't here by accident. That night, in a dim room lit only by a flickering desk lamp and the muted glow of rainfall outside, she opened a metal case. Inside, a silver 4-star insignia she never wore, and a photo of her standing beside the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. She activated a secure comm device. "Authentication Omega 74 Delta," she whispered. A pause. Then a male voice answered. "Authenticated, report." "Sir, the breach is worse than expected," she said. "I'll need to accelerate the timeline." "And Commander Merrick." She hesitated. "Competent, overconfident, salvageable." A breath of silence. "You still have operational authority," the voice replied. "Full discretion." "Yes, sir." When the line went dead, she locked the insignia away again. Her reflection in the darkened window looked nothing like a ghost, and everything like a storm. Whatever this mission was, whatever she knew, she hadn't told them. Not yet. And when she did, nothing on this base would ever be the same again. Why did the alarm hit the base at dawn, before anyone realized she had already predicted it? Mist clung to the training grounds at first light, rolling in low and heavy as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Evanthea was already running her third lap along the perimeter fence when Lieutenant Commander Zephyr Donovan appeared ahead, leaning casually against a post with 2 steaming cups in hand. "Coffee?" he offered as she slowed to a stop. She eyed the cup. "Black." "No sugar," he added, figured. "How?" she asked. "I've been here since 500, he said. "You look like someone who runs before the sun." She accepted the cup. It was exactly right. Bitter, clean, necessary. Donovan studied her quietly, not with suspicion, but with recognition. You're different from the usual JSOC visitors, he said. How many have you met? He chuckled. 3 that I know of, probably more I didn't. And they show up with entourages. You showed up with silence. She took another sip. Effectiveness isn't always loud. Before Donovan could respond, the base sirens erupted, sharp, metallic, urgent. A red light pulsed across the compound. Security Protocol Echo. All OFFICERS report to Command Center. They exchanged a single look, professional, alert, and moved. When they entered the command center, chaos swallowed the room. Commander Merrick stood at the central console, barking orders while screens around him flickered with breach alerts. Network isolation confirmed, an analyst shouted. All outbound comms suspended. Internal systems switching to secure backup, another added. Evanthea slipped in quietly, unnoticed at first, silent gravity in motion. Captain Wright arrived moments later, stepping directly beside her. It started, he murmured. She nodded once. Right on schedule. Merrick spun toward them, his expression tightening at the sight of her. What do you know about this? He demanded. We detected a breach 5 minutes ago. I detected it 3 weeks ago, she replied calmly. This is the 4th one. The room stilled again. Explain, Merrick snapped. She stepped toward the console, hands clasped behind her back. Operation Shadowfall has been compromised repeatedly. Each time, critical intel was extracted and transmitted outside secure channels. That's impossible, Merrick shot back. Everyone on my staff is vetted. Traitors aren't caught by routine vetting, she said softly. Murmurs surged through the room. A young officer pointed accusingly. She showed up out of nowhere. No insignia, now there's a breach. That's not a coincidence. Suspicion shifted sharply toward her. Eyes whispers doubt. Where were you between 2200 and 400 hours? Merrick asked. Sleeping, she answered. Can anyone verify that? No. Gasps. Whispers turning into accusations. Captain Wright inhaled, stepping forward. This is a waste of time. No, Captain, Merrick cut him off. We contain all unknown variables. 2 security officers approached her. Donovan looked torn, jaw tight. Commander, detaining her without grounds. I'll decide grounds, Merrick snapped. Escort her to detention room 3. The guards hesitated, unsure if grabbing a JSOC representative was courage or suicide. But Evanthea didn't resist. Didn't argue. Didn't even blink. She simply handed over her tablet and held out her wrists calmly, as if she'd expected this. Then Captain Wright moved. He strode to the console, typed an override code so deep it silenced every screen in the room. Lights flickered. Systems froze. A single prompt appeared on every monitor. Command authority verification required. The room fell silent. Wright turned toward her. Ma'am, he said firmly, I think it's time. Every officer stared as Evanthea stepped forward, her presence shifting, sharpening, as if she had been wearing someone else's skin until this moment. Merrick tried to speak. You have no author. Her voice cut clean through the room. General Evanthea Reeves, 4-star Joint Special Operations Command. The words hung suspended in the air. Authentication, she continued without pause. Sierra Tango 721, Echo Foxtrot. The console beeped, one crisp note confirming absolute authority. Captain Wright snapped into a rigid salute. General Reeves. Merrick's face drained of color. The officers froze, breath caught, bodies stiff, disbelief crashing through the room like a shockwave. That's not possible, Merrick whispered. No 4-star general walks onto a base without insignia. By design, she replied. Donovan stepped forward, stunned. He wasn't smiling now. Merrick staggered back a step. You're not on any active roster. And yet, she said, I outrank everyone in this room. No anger. No pride. Just truth. Lieutenant Mayers rushed in with a tablet. Sir Commander General, he stuttered, the breach originated from inside this building. Someone with command-level access. Reeves turned toward the room, gaze sweeping across nervous officers. This ends now, she said. The tone was quiet. Controlled. Deadly. All of you will listen carefully, she continued. Someone in this command has been selling intelligence. And I intend to find out who. Merrick swallowed hard. General, you think it's one of us. Reeves looked him in the eye, calm, unblinking. I think, she said softly, that rank makes people comfortable. Comfort makes people sloppy. And sloppy people get good soldiers killed. She stepped closer, her presence forcing him to confront the truth he'd been avoiding. I didn't come here to observe your operation, she said. I came here to save it. Then she turned to the console. Lock down the base, she ordered. No one leaves. No one communicates outside this room. We contain the breach starting now. And the room obeyed her instantly. Not because she had spoken louder. Not because she had threatened them. But because for the first time, they understood who she really was. And they realized, with slow creeping dread, that everything she had done since setting foot on the base had been part of a plan none of them had even seen coming. Why did the traitor freeze the moment she entered the room, before she even said a word? The command center had shifted from chaos to a tense, suffocating quiet. Screens flickered under emergency protocols, illuminating faces that looked more like suspects than soldiers now. Every breath seemed measured, every movement watched. General Evanthea Reeves stood at the center of it all, unranked no more, unseen no longer. Her presence altered the air itself. No one dared speak unless she invited it. She looked over the gathered officers, her gaze calm, surgical. There are only 19 people with access high enough to execute a breach at this level, she said. All are present in this room, which means the traitor is too. A ripple of unease spread across the group. Merrick stiffened. Donovan folded his arms, eyes scanning faces. Captain Wright stood just behind Reeves as if anchoring the room with his silence. Reeves continued, voice steady, almost gentle. Someone here has been feeding intel to an external entity, someone who knows this base, our schedule, our operations, our habits. A young analyst swallowed hard. General, if I may, what intel was taken? She turned toward him, expression unreadable. Information regarding Operation Shadowfall, she replied. Specifically, the extraction route, comm frequencies, and air support patterns. The room buzzed with shocked whispers. That's everything, Donovan murmured. Someone handed them the mission on a platter. Reeves didn't react. She walked toward a terminal, fingers gliding across the screen. Logs appeared, encrypted strings unfolding like a puzzle only she could read. Merrick took a hesitant step forward. General Reeves, I need to ask, why wasn't I informed JSOC was investigating us? She didn't look up. Because your base is compromised, she said softly. And because I needed authentic reactions. The words struck deeper than any reprimand. Donovan raised an eyebrow. You mean, you wanted to see who got nervous the moment you arrived? I wanted to see who tried to cover their tracks, she corrected. The console beeped. She turned the screen toward the officers. A list of system actions appeared, time-stamped with precision. 4:51 hours, she said. Unauthorized script injection. Source, internal. She tapped another entry. 5:04 hours. Attempted wipe of server logs. Gasps, one officer's face went ghost white. Reeves' gaze landed on him, Lieutenant Harper. His breathing quickened. Eyes darted toward the exit before snapping back to her. I didn't do anything, he stammered. Those timestamps aren't mine. Reeves held up a hand, silencing him with terrifying calm. I'm not accusing you, Lieutenant, she said. You're panicking. That makes you easy to rule out. Guilty people stay very, very still. Every officer in the room froze. She stepped closer, scanning faces, posture relaxed, but her eyes were something else, sharp, calculating, soft with empathy yet cold with purpose. Fear is normal, she said, but fear isn't guilt, and guilt always leaves a trail. Her voice lowered. A trail someone here thought they erased. She moved toward the back, toward the quietest corner of the room where a woman stood with perfect composure. Major Annalise Porter. Intelligence officer. Decorated. Calm to a fault. Reeves stopped directly in front of her. Everyone waited for Porter to react. She didn't. Her stillness was too perfect. Major, Reeves said gently, how long have you been on this base? 6 years, ma'am. And your last external deployment? 3 years ago. Reeves tilted her head slightly. Strange. Your credentials were used off base 14 days ago. A slow, lethal silence fell. Porter's jaw tightened just slightly. That's impossible, she said without blinking. Is it? Reeves asked softly. I traced the breach signal. It bounced off a civilian relay near Camp Willow, a relay Major Porter had access to in her intel role. Porter didn't flinch. Anyone could have borrowed my clearance. No one borrowed it, Reeves said. They cloned it, and that requires a physical scan. Several officers inhaled sharply. Reeves leaned in just enough that only Porter could hear her next words. That's when I realized something. The breach wasn't about stealing intel. It was about covering tracks. Someone was hiding something much older. Porter unbuttoned her sleeve, revealing a faint scar running along her wrist. General, she whispered, there are things you don't understand. Reeves shook her head. On the contrary, she said softly, I understand too well. Her eyes softened suddenly, not with pity, but with something unexpectedly human. You weren't always like this, Reeves murmured. You were a good soldier once, before someone broke you. The room stiffened in collective shock. Porter's hands trembled now, only once, but it was enough. Reeves continued. You received a classified transmission 11 months ago, a threat, a promise. Someone used your family to force you into cooperation. Porter's eyes glistened. A tiny fracture. The first crack in her armor. How did you know? She whispered, voice barely holding. Reeves stepped closer, lowering her voice. Because it happened to me once, she said. I recognized the patterns. Porter's composure collapsed silently, like a sandcastle in rain. I never wanted this, she choked. I tried to stop, I tried to pull out, but they... Reeves placed a hand on her arm, gentle, grounding. I know. Her voice softened further. I'm not here to destroy you. I'm here to stop whoever owns you. Porter crumpled into a chair, head in her hands. The room watched, stunned and shaken. Merrick exhaled shakily. So we have our traitor. Reeves raised a hand. No, we have our victim. She looked around the room. The real enemy hasn't shown themselves yet. Porter is only the first thread. Donovan stepped beside her. So what now? Reeves turned toward the central screen. Her reflection stared back, tired, steady, preparing for something darker. Now, she said quietly, we pull the rest of the thread and see how deep this goes. She glanced once at the door leading out of the command center, the only exit. Someone else was waiting behind it. Someone who had been listening. watching, and Reeves knew. The moment she stepped through that door, the real hunt would begin. Why did the man leaning in the shadowed hallway know her name, when she had never spoken it aloud to him? The command center doors slid open with a hydraulic hiss. As General Reeves stepped out, the corridor felt colder than it had minutes before, too quiet, too empty. The walls hummed with the subdued reverberation of lockdown status, lights dimmed to emergency mode. Every shadow seemed deeper, every echo sharper. But she sensed him before she saw him. A presence. Unmoving. Calculated. A man leaned casually against the far end of the hallway, half hidden beneath a flickering overhead light. His uniform marked him as base personnel, but nothing else about him fit. He didn't straighten. He didn't salute. He simply smiled. "Evanthea," he said softly, as if it were a secret between them. Her pulse didn't quicken. Her breathing didn't change. But her eyes did, just slightly narrowing. "I didn't give you my name," she replied. The man shrugged one shoulder. "That's the problem with ghosts. They forget people can see their footprints." He pushed off the wall and walked toward her with deliberate calm, hands loose, confident. When he reached the midpoint of the corridor, lights flickered again, long enough for her to realize they weren't flickering at all. They were being overridden. "You're not on my roster," she said quietly. "I'm not on anyone's," he replied. "Not anymore." A small click sounded behind her. Donovan emerged from the command center, instinctively stepping slightly between them, as if he sensed something he couldn't identify. "General," Donovan murmured, "you know him." "I know of him," she answered without looking away. The man smiled wider, eyes glinting with something sharp. "Lieutenant Commander Donovan," he said, nodding politely. "You've been asking around, digging into things you shouldn't." Donovan stiffened. "And you are?" "A mistake," Evanthea said quietly. "Buried years ago." The man chuckled. "Oh, don't be dramatic," he said. "You and I both know you didn't bury me. They did, and you walked away." A subtle shift in Reeves' expression gave Donovan his first clue that this wasn't just professional history. This was personal. "Stand down," she said to Donovan, her voice low. "General." "Now." Reluctantly, Donovan stepped back, but not far. Reeves faced the man fully. "You're early," she said. "You forced my hand," he replied. "Your little lockdown stunt set off alarms I couldn't ignore." "You triggered the breach," she said. "Not Porter, she was just your access point." He nodded almost proudly. "Didn't take you long to figure that out. Then again, you were always quicker than the rest." Evanthea inhaled slowly. "Why here, why now?" He stepped closer until only a few feet separated them. "Because Shadowfall isn't what you think it is," he whispered. "It's bigger, older, and you, of all people, were never supposed to return." Donovan's hand twitched toward his holster. Reeves shot him a warning glance. The man smiled again. "You're wondering how I got on this base, how I bypassed the scans, how I'm standing here having a polite conversation instead of being locked in one of your sub-basement cells." Reeves didn't answer. He leaned forward. "Because, General Reeves, someone let me in." A chill rippled down the corridor. Not fear, certainty. Reeves' jaw clenched. "Who?" she asked. The man shrugged. "Wouldn't be any fun if I told you now." She hated that answer more than the threat behind it. He stepped backward, hands raised gently as if offering peace. "I didn't come here to hurt you," he said. "I came to remind you what happens when you start digging into shadows you were meant to leave alone." Reeves' voice softened to something dangerous. "What do you want?" He studied her carefully. "To warn you." "About what?" His face, so calm a moment ago, hardened. "You're not hunting a single traitor," he said. "You're hunting a network, embedded, organized, invisible, and they already know you're here." "Good," Reeves replied. For the first time he flinched. "You always were impossible to intimidate." "Not impossible," she said quietly. "I just fear the wrong things." He tilted his head. "And what's the right thing to fear?" "That I'm not alone," she said. "That others will pay the price for my decisions." He softened just slightly, a strange clarity in his eyes. "You haven't changed," he murmured. Then his expression shifted again, colder, distant. "You need to watch your back, Evanthea. There's someone on this base you trust who absolutely shouldn't be trusted." Her breath stilled, but only for a fraction of a second. "Who?" she asked again. He smiled, sad this time. "You always ask the wrong question," he said, echoing her own words from the briefing room. And before she or Donovan could move, an emergency panel behind him popped open, released remotely. He stepped inside. The door sealed. "Gone." Donovan exhaled shakily. "What the hell was that, General?" Reeves didn't answer. Couldn't, not yet. She looked down the empty corridor. "I thought he was dead," she whispered. "Who is he?" Donovan pressed. She inhaled, steadying herself. "Someone who used to stand beside me," she said. "And someone who tried to kill me." Donovan blinked. "What's his name?" She closed her eyes for a moment, as if reopening an old wound. "Major Elias Cade," she finally said. "Former JSOC. My second in command." Donovan felt the weight immediately. "And now?" Reeves opened her eyes. "He's the first proof," she said quietly, "that this conspiracy isn't external. It's coming from inside our own system." The lights flickered back to full emergency mode, bathing the corridor in cold red. Reeves started walking. "General," Donovan called. She didn't slow. "The traitor was never the threat," she said, voice carrying down the hall. "The threat is who created them." And as Donovan followed, he glimpsed something in her posture, something fragile under the steel. A flicker of guilt, of memory, of a wound that had never healed. This wasn't just a mission for her. This was a reckoning. Why did the base feel heavier that night, like the walls themselves were waiting for something to break? Darkness settled over the compound like a held breath. Every building stood under lockdown, every hallway lit only by thin strips of emergency lighting. The usual chatter, footsteps, distant engines, the heartbeat of a military base, had vanished into a suffocating quiet. General Evanthea Reeves moved through the halls with Donovan and Captain Wright at her side. Each step echoed a little too long, a little too sharp, as if the base were trying to warn them. "You still haven't told us," Donovan said finally. "What happened between you and Cade?" Reeves didn't break stride. "That story doesn't help us now." "It might," Donovan insisted. "If he knows you, if he predicts you, then understanding him is understanding the threat." She stopped, slowly turned to him. "You want to know who he was?" she asked softly. Donovan nodded. "Then understand this," she said. "Elias Cade wasn't just my second in command. He was my friend, my shadow, a man I would have trusted with my life." Wright exchanged a glance with Donovan, surprised. Reeves continued walking. "But something changed," she added, voice softer now. "A mission went wrong, a mission I led, people died, someone leaked our position. Cade blamed our own command, I blamed myself." "You think that was the first breach?" Wright asked. "I think," she said, "that was the moment he stopped believing in the system, and someone found him in that moment of doubt." A subtle grief flickered across her features. "Broken people make the best weapons," she murmured. They entered the operations wing, empty desks, Screens froze in mid-alert, half-finished reports left behind when lockdown hit. The place felt abandoned, like the ghost of an office rather than a living one. Wright checked each room. Clear. Reeves approached a sealed door marked Secure Server Room, authorized access only. She pressed her palm against the reader. A screen blinked. Clearance VRIFID. General EVANTHIA REVS. Access granted. The door slid open. Inside, a cold blue glow washed over racks of humming servers. The air vibrated with electromagnetic tension. Donovan shut the door behind them. "What are we looking for?" he asked. "Patterns," Reeves said. "The kind humans miss, the kind machines don't." She connected her card to the terminal. Lines of encrypted logs spilled across the screen. Wright squinted. "That's a lot of data." "It's everything," she replied. Donovan stepped closer. "You think the real leak wasn't today?" "No," she said. "I think it started months ago. Porter was just the last step, not the first." The system beeped. A red string of code flashed, like a vein pulsing inside the machine. Reeves leaned forward. "There." "What is it?" Donovan asked. "A backdoor," she said. "Hidden in a maintenance update." Wright frowned. Who would embed a backdoor in something that routine? "A genius," she replied, "or a traitor with access, or both." She kept scrolling. Then her finger froze above the screen. A name. A timestamp. A single line that shouldn't exist. Donovan read it over her shoulder. "Wait," he whispered. "That's Commander Merrick's authorization." Silence plunged down on them like a falling weight. Reeves stood perfectly still. Wright shook his head. "General, that can't be right. Merrick, been confused, stubborn, maybe arrogant, but he's no traitor." "No," Reeves agreed quietly. "He's not." "But that's his clearance code," Donovan said. "Exactly." She zoomed in on the detailed access log. "This is Merrick's doing," she explained. "It's a mimic. Someone cloned his credentials same way they did Porter's, but Merrick's codes were used differently, cleaner, more careful." Wright's voice dropped. "Meaning whoever cloned Merrick knew exactly how to use his authority without raising suspicion." "Yes," she said. "And they didn't use it often, only when it mattered." Donovan swallowed. "So Merrick been an unknowing doorway." Reeves nodded. "A perfect doorway." She kept scanning. Her eyes narrowed. "There's something else." A second authorization string flashed. This one nearly made her step back. Donovan leaned in. "What is that?" "That," she whispered, "is a ghost signature." Wright frowned. "A what?" "A clearance level that exists off-record," she said. "Someone who outranks even Merrick's access. Someone no one here has ever met or ever will." Donovan's brows creased. "So JSOC." "No," she said. "This is above JSOC." Wright's breath caught. "Above you." Reeves didn't answer. Her silence was the answer. Donovan cursed under his breath. "General, who has access above a 4-star general." Reeves finally looked at them, eyes heavier than any command she'd ever carried. "Only one group," she said. "People who don't appear in any roster, who don't wear uniforms, who don't speak publicly." Donovan went still. "You think this is coming from the Directorate?" Wright's face drained of color. "No," Reeves said. And then very quietly, "I know it is." The servers hummed around them like distant thunder. Donovan spoke first. "If the Directorate is involved, then Porter was never the true target." "No," Reeves said softly. "She was a pawn." "And Cade?" Donovan asked. The grief in her chest flickered again. "They broke him," she whispered. turned him into a messenger. Wright stepped back, realization striking like a blow. General, if the Directorate is running this operation, then this base, this entire command is compromised. Reeves nodded slowly, painfully. And so am I, she said quietly. Because they didn't just hide a traitor. She looked at the ghost's signature again, its cold, perfect precision. They hid a directive. Donovan's voice cracked. What kind of directive? Reeves exhaled, a breath heavy with something she hadn't wanted to admit. To eliminate me, she whispered. And to bury everything connected to Shadowfall. Silence swallowed the room whole. The hum of the servers suddenly felt like the sound of distant rotors approaching, watching, waiting. A storm was coming. And this time, it wasn't just outside the walls. It was already inside. Why did the lights die all at once, right when she whispered the one truth she'd spent years avoiding? The server room plunged into darkness. Not flickered. Not dimmed. Died. The hum of machines vanished, replaced by a suffocating silence that pressed against their ears like cotton. Emergency lights failed to kick in, an impossibility in a facility with 5 redundant power backups. Donovan's breath hitched. General. Stay still, Reeves whispered. A soft sound, barely audible, slipped through the dark. A footstep. Somewhere in the maze of servers. Wright pulled his sidearm. But Reeves lifted a hand. No guns, she breathed. We're blind, they're not. Because she knew exactly what this was. A blackout this precise wasn't an accident. It wasn't a malfunction. It wasn't even an attack. It was a message. Another quiet step, closer this time. Donovan murmured, Cade. No, Reeves whispered. Her voice trembled in a way neither man had heard before. This isn't Cade, he doesn't move like that. Wright swallowed. You can tell from a footstep. I can tell from the absence of one, she said. For a moment, no one breathed. Then Reeves whispered a name she hadn't spoken in years. Spectre. Wright stiffened. Donovan froze. General, that's a code name, isn't it? Donovan whispered. No, she said softly. It's a sentence. A faint metallic click sounded somewhere to their left, someone resetting a weapon or opening a casing. The dark swallowed the noise before they could pinpoint it. Reeves inhaled slowly, finding calm somewhere deep inside the storm of her pulse. Donovan, Wright, she whispered, listen to me very carefully. They leaned in, barely silhouettes in the void. If that's Spectre, she said, he's not here to kill us, not yet. Wright whispered tightly, then what's he here for? To confirm something, she said. Me. A soft, deliberate exhale floated out of the darkness, as if someone hiding between the servers was amused. Donovan's hand twitched toward his flashlight. Don't, she said sharply. He'll shoot it out or shoot your hand. The darkness stretched and stretched until it felt like its own weight. Then, a voice. Soft, cold. Almost polite. You're slower than I remember, Evanthea. Wright flinched. Donovan nearly stepped in front of her. Reeves didn't move. Show yourself, she said. A quiet chuckle drifted. No, that's your mistake. You think I play by your rules now. Reeves clenched her jaw. What does the Directorate want? She asked. Silence fell. When the voice returned, it was closer. Everything. Donovan swallowed hard. Then why target the general? Because, Spectre replied, she's the only one who knows what Shadowfall really is. Reeves felt the old burn in her chest, the secret she'd buried under years of silence, guilt, and duty. Wright didn't miss the way her shoulders tightened. General, he whispered, what exactly is Shadowfall? Before she could answer, Spectre spoke instead. Tell them, he said gently. Tell them about the mission you erased, the people you left behind. Tell them why you disappeared from the public eye for 2 years. Reeves closed her eyes. She had known this day would come. Evanthea, Donovan whispered, voice breaking a little. Whatever this is, we need to hear it. A long breath. Then another. She opened her eyes. Shadowfall wasn't a mission, she said quietly. It was a mistake. Spectre's chuckle echoed again, sliding between the servers like a blade. Understatement of the century. Reeves continued, voice steady despite the tremor beneath. We were tasked with extracting an informant, someone who claimed the Directorate was embedding operatives inside U.S. command structures. It was supposed to be simple. It wasn't, Spectre said. No, she whispered. It was. The darkness felt like her memory, cold, heavy, endless. They trapped us, she said. They knew every move before we made it. Cade and I were separated from our team. We tried to radio for help, but... Her voice tightened. They were already dead, all of them. Wright closed his eyes. Donovan's jaw clenched. And who leaked the location? Donovan whispered. Reeves didn't answer. Spectre answered for her. She did. The silence slammed like a fist. Reeves didn't look away. Didn't deny it. I didn't know, she said, steady but hollow. The Directorate manipulated our intel. They fed me false coordinates. They made me pull the trigger on my own people. A ragged exhale escaped her. Not weakness, truth. They wanted to break me, she said. And they did for a while. Spectre's voice softened dangerously. And now the Directorate wants the rest of the truth buried with you. Wright stepped forward, voice shaking with fury. You're lying. No, Spectre said. She's just been lying to herself. Reeves closed her eyes briefly. I made mistakes. I carry them every day, but I won't let them destroy more people. Spectre moved closer, so close they could almost feel the shift in air. So you understand what comes next, he murmured. Yes, she replied. Her hand moved slowly to her vest, calm, deliberate. Donovan reached out. General, no. But instead of drawing a weapon, she pressed a small blue switch on her comm unit. A soft chime confirmed activation. Spectre inhaled sharply. You wouldn't. I would, she whispered. What did you do? Donovan whispered. She looked at him, eyes clear, resolved. I activated a failsafe protocol. If I die, every classified document tied to Shadowfall goes public. Spectre's composure cracked for the first time. You always were inconvenient. And you always underestimated people, she said. Silence. Then, footsteps. Slow. Retreating. Spectre's final words echoed as he vanished deeper into the maze of servers. This isn't over, General. A pause. It's just the beginning. The emergency lights blinked on, soft at first, then steady. Wright exhaled a trembling breath. General, we have to move, now. Reeves nodded. But as they stepped out of the server room, Donovan caught the faintest shake in her hand before she hid it. Fear. No, not fear. A memory she had spent years running from, finally catching up. And the base, the whole world, felt 1 inch closer to collapse. Why did dawn feel like a threat, like the sun itself was warning them they were running out of time? The sky outside the operations wing was turning a faded gray, bleeding slowly toward daylight. But instead of relief, the approaching morning wrapped the base in a quiet dread. No engines, no chatter, no routine, just the muted thrum of a lockdown that felt more like a countdown. Reeves walked with Donovan and Wright across the courtyard, her boots hitting the ground in steady, unbroken rhythm. But inside, something was unraveling. The server room encounter had shaken even her iron composure, not because Spectre had appeared, but because he had known exactly where she would be. "General," Donovan finally said, matching her stride, "Spectre knew your steps, your pace, your choices. That's not coincidence." "It never is with him," she replied. Wright scanned the roofs, the windows, every shadow long enough to hide a rifle. "What's our next move, ma'am?" he asked. Reeves paused at the base of the administrative tower. The glass reflected their silhouettes, three figures against a growing storm. "We need to find where the directorate embedded their operative," she said. "Someone with high-level clearance, someone who's been here long enough to hide in plain sight." Wright frowned. "Could be anyone." "No," she murmured, "it'll be someone invisible." Donovan let out a breath. "Meaning?" She turned to face them. "Meaning someone everyone trusts." Inside the tower, the air felt recycled and heavy. The fluorescent lights buzzed like insects trapped behind plastic. Officers moved stiffly through the halls, whispers trailing behind them like smoke. Some saluted her now. Others avoided eye contact. Most didn't know whether to fear her or follow her. Outside Commander Merrick's office, she stopped. "Merrick is loyal," she said quietly. "But loyalty makes you predictable, and predictable men are easy to use." Donovan knocked once. The door opened. Commander Merrick stood inside, uniform rumpled, eyes red from a night without sleep. His confusion had hardened into something closer to controlled panic. "General," he said stiffly, "I wasn't informed you'd be back here." "You weren't supposed to be," she replied. His jaw tightened. "What's going on?" Reeves entered the room without waiting for permission. She moved like she owned the space, because in the hierarchy that mattered she did. "You were an unknowing access point," she said. "Someone cloned your credentials." Merrick swallowed. "Someone used me." Reeves nodded. "They needed your rank to open doors theirs couldn't." Merrick looked at the floor, shame bruising the edges of his voice. "I should have seen something," he whispered. "I should have." "No," she interrupted. "This isn't your failure." He blinked, surprised, as if forgiveness was the last thing he expected. Wright shifted awkwardly. "Sir, did you ever notice unusual access logs on your system? Anything off?" Merrick hesitated, then nodded slowly. "3 times," he said. "I assumed it was an IT glitch." "It doesn't glitch in perfect patterns," Reeves said softly. Donovan stepped forward. "Who else has been in your office recently? Anyone with even brief access to your workstation?" Merrick frowned, thinking hard. "Plenty," he said. "My XO analysts, maintenance officers, logistic teams. Hell, half the command staff walks in here every day." Reeves' gaze sharpened. "Then narrow it down," she said. "Who did you let in after hours?" He hesitated. The pause was small, but meaningful. "Merrick," she said gently. "Who?" He exhaled, strained. "Major Porter," he whispered. "About 2 months ago, she said she was running late updates for Intel crosschecks, needed system access. I let her use my terminal." Wright rubbed his face. "Jesus, that's when the clone started." Donovan cursed under his breath. Reeves didn't react. She already knew. In truth, she had known the moment Porter broke in the command center. But hearing it confirmed the timeline. Porter had been compromised early. Used like a tool. Discarded when she wasn't needed. "We need Porter," Reeves said. "She's still in medical for shock," Merrick replied. "Then we'll go to her." But before Reeves could turn, Merrick caught her wrist, gently but desperate. "General, am I a liability?" She met his eyes. "Really met them?" "No," she said softly. "You're a good man caught in a bad war." Something in his face cracked, just a little. Not weakness. Relief. She pulled her wrist back gently. "We're not done," she said. "Stay sharp." As they walked toward the medical wing, Donovan lowered his voice. "General, about what Spectre said, about the Directorate targeting you." "They always were," she replied. Wright looked at her, troubled. "You think they'll move on you tonight?" Her jaw tightened. "No," she said. "They'll move on the base." Donovan stopped. "What makes you say that?" She turned toward him, gaze steady. "Because they never aim at the head first," she said. "They aim at the foundation." Wright frowned, meaning. Meaning before they eliminate a threat, they isolate it. A boom echoed in the distance, deep and dull, rattling the floor beneath them. Not an explosion. A power shift. Donovan's eyes widened. That came from the hangars. Reeves broke into a run. They burst through the medical wing doors, only to freeze. Chaos. Medics shouting. Patients being moved. Alarms flashing crimson. And in the center of the chaos, one empty bed. "Porter." A medic sprinted past. "What happened?" Donovan demanded. "She's gone," the medic shouted. "Someone walked in with clearance and transferred her out." "Who?" Reeves barked. The medic swallowed. "We don't know, ma'am, but whoever it was." He pointed to the glass door at the far end, cracked inward from a controlled detonation. They knew exactly what they were doing. Wright exhaled sharply. "They took Porter, they're cleaning house." Donovan looked at Reeves. "General, what now?" Reeves stared at the broken glass, her pulse steadying into something cold and devastatingly focused. "Now," she said, "we stop being prey." She turned toward the hangar, toward the distant sound of engines whirring to life. "And we start hunting back." Why did the world go silent, right when she finally stopped running from the truth? The blast from the hangars rattled the windows, shaking dust from ceiling vents and sending a shockwave through the floor. Every instinct inside General Evanthea Reeves snapped from analysis into action. She didn't run because she wanted to. She ran because something in her bones knew. The Directorate was making its next move. Donovan and Wright sprinted beside her, boots pounding across concrete, flashlights bouncing against the dim emergency lighting. The air smelled like burnt wiring and something metallic, fear, maybe. "Hangar A or B?" Wright shouted. "B," Reeves said. Her voice was too calm, too controlled, the kind of calm that came from years of expecting the worst. As they got closer, the orange glow of fire emergency lights bled through the hall windows. Not flames, just warning strobes triggered by unauthorized ignition systems. Donovan cursed. "They're starting up the aircraft." "No," Reeves said, "they're starting up something bigger." She pushed through the final set of double doors and froze. The hangar was alive with noise. Engines whining. Metal clattering. Shadows moving between cargo pallets. But the chaos wasn't random. It was coordinated. A transport aircraft stood on the tarmac just outside the hangar doors, engines rumbling, back ramp open. A vehicle sat half-loaded inside, an armored personnel carrier with a sealed black case strapped to it. Reeves recognized the case instantly. Shadowfall files. Everything she'd kept buried. Everything the Directorate wanted erased. "General," Wright started. But she was already walking. Her steps slow, purposeful, her presence cutting through the chaos like a razor. 3 armed soldiers, Directorate operatives disguised in Marine uniforms, turned at the sight of her. One hesitated. Just long enough. "Hold your fire," Reeves ordered, voice sharp enough to cut steel. For a moment they froze. Not because she commanded it, but because something in her tone, reminded them what true authority felt like. Then, a familiar voice from behind the ramp. "Let them through." Elias Cade stepped out of the shadows of the carrier. Unmasked. Expression unreadable. Wright raised his rifle. Reeves lifted a hand. "Don't," she said quietly. Cade's gaze locked onto hers, and for a breath the noise of engines faded, leaving only the hollow space between two ghosts who once trusted each other with their lives. "Cade," she said, "you're making a mistake." He gave a tired half-smile. "No, Evanthia, I made my mistakes a long time ago. This is just me cleaning up the mess." "You don't know what's in that case." "Don't I?" he asked. "Your command logs, Shadowfall decrypts, everything you buried to protect yourself." "That's not why I buried them," she said. Her voice didn't break, but it wavered just once. His expression sharpened. "Then why?" "Because the truth would have broken the people who trusted me," she whispered. "And I wasn't ready to watch them fall." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Cade spoke. "Spectre told me you had a failsafe. Kill you, and the files go public." "Yes." "You knew I'd come for you," he said softly. "Yes." "And you didn't run." "No." Cade stepped off the ramp, boots hitting the floor with a hollow thud. "You're still the same," he said, "still carrying everyone else's sins." "Not everyone," she said. "Just the ones who mattered." His jaw tightened. "You think you're doing the right thing, but the Directorate doesn't stop. They don't break, they don't lose." "They will today," she said. He shook his head. "You can't beat an enemy that exists in your blind spots." Reeves took a step closer. "That's why I'm not fighting them alone." She glanced at Donovan and Wright, and they moved, not forward, not backward, but into formation behind her, like a silent vow. Cade's eyes softened. "Almost regret." "Evanthia, I never wanted to be your enemy." "Then don't be," she said. "Not today." For one fragile heartbeat, the world held still. The engines hummed. Uniforms rustled. Dust floated in the morning light, cutting through the hangar windows. And then, a gunshot. Sharp, precise. From above. Reeves flinched, not from pain but instinct. The shot wasn't aimed at her. It hit the cable of the aircraft's cargo lift. Sparks burst. The lift dropped half a meter with a heavy metallic crash. Reeves' head snapped up. A silhouette stood on the catwalk. "Spectre." Rifle raised. Expression unreadable in the dim light. "Move," Reeves hissed. Cade dove for cover. Donovan pulled right behind a maintenance vehicle. Reeves sprinted sideways, rolling behind stacked crates as more shots rang out, each precise enough to be a warning, not a kill. Spectre wasn't trying to eliminate them. He was trying to trap them. "General," Donovan called, "he's pinning us in." "Not for long," she said, breath steadying. Cade called out from behind a crate. "Spectre, stand down." Spectre didn't answer. Didn't even pause. He wasn't here for a conversation. He was here to finish the directive. Reeves took a slow breath. "You want me," she whispered. "Fine." She broke from cover, sprinting across open ground toward the aircraft, toward the case, toward everything she had ever feared. Spectre fired. A shot ripped across the concrete, inches from her boots. Another grazed the edge of a crate beside her. But none hit. None were meant to. Cade watched in horror. Evanthia. She didn't stop. Didn't slow. Didn't hesitate. She reached the ramp, grabbed the case, and turned to face the shadow on the catwalk. "No more running," she whispered. Spectre aimed for her head. Donovan burst from cover, firing upward to force Spectre back. Wright relocated positions, cutting off the catwalk's escape route. The shot never came. Instead, Spectre stepped backward, disappearing into smoke from the emergency fire suppressant system that suddenly triggered across the hangar. A final voice echo slipped down from above, cold as winter. "This isn't victory, General. It's delay." Then silence. And Spectre was gone. Reeves stood there, case in hand, chest rising slowly with controlled breaths. Cade stepped forward from behind cover, hands empty, face unreadable. "You shouldn't have grabbed that," he murmured. "I had to," she replied. He studied her. Not as an enemy. Not as an ally. As something in between. Something he hadn't figured out yet. Donovan approached cautiously. "What now, General?" Reeves looked at the sealed case. At her reflection distorted in the metal. "Now," she said softly. She looked up, eyes steady, weary, unbreakable. "Now we tell the truth." Cade frowned. "What truth?" She met his gaze. "All of it," she said. "Every buried file, every lie, every order that destroyed us." Wright swallowed. "But the Directorate will come for us," she said. Donovan nodded. "And we'll be ready." Cade stepped closer. "You're choosing a hard road, Evanthea." She finally let herself breathe. "I've walked harder." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded once. "I'm with you," he said. "For now." It wasn't a promise, but it was something. Reeves looked at the distant horizon, pale morning light spilling over the mountains. A new day. A dangerous one. But for the first time in years, she didn't feel alone. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the scars and guilt and battles she never spoke of, a quiet truth settled. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts.